Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of the long and winding Royal Road. And for those people who are listening right now and thinking, but WH, you did an episode last month. That was episode 0. So that was the prologue episode, the prequel, if you will, to the main series, which is this episode. This is episode 1. And of course, the long and winding Royal Road here at postwrestling.com is a podcast dedicated to the 1990s era of All Japan Pro Wrestling, the Four Pillars era, if you will. And, we're going to talk about tons of matches from this era during the course of the series. When the series ends, I don't know. It's a monthly show. So I could be finished this in like 10 years. It could span the entirety of its own decade. Who knows what will happen with this show. But one of the things I want to do with this show is kind of educate people about the 1990s era of All Japan Pro Wrestling, one of my favorite periods of professional wrestling ever. And, I'll have guests on who are experts of that era too, who love that era as much as I do. But one other thing I want to do is kind of like get people on who maybe aren't as familiar with the time period as I am. And that's my guest today. He's a well-renowned podcaster of his own over at the PWTcast. He is the man known as Scrump. Scrump, how are you, sir?
Bang, bang, what is up, you guys? I am honored to be guest for episode 1. I guess technically the first guest. I don't know if episode 0 counts, but nonetheless, I as a listener of everyone here at the Post Wrestling family for a while, back to the Law days, I patted myself on the back that I was asked twice to appear on the Post Christmas show, the yearly Christmas show. But I think I'm gonna have to pat myself again on the back to be honored to be asked by none other than WH himself to be on one of your shows, because your shows have always been one of my favorites. Like I'll be the first to admit I don't know much about Japanese wrestling, but pretty much all that I have learned has been from you. You're always supplying us with tons of fun content in our secret group chat that we can't mention. But yeah, I'm super excited to get into. I actually thought at first that we were doing the best of Kenny Omega, but then you sent me the link and I was like, oh man. But still, nonetheless, excited.
This stuff is better than Kenny Omega. No, just kidding. I understand people love Kenny Omega. It's a joke. People might be. I think I might have offended people when I was talking about the legendary status of Stan Hansen here in Japan, Scrump, and during the course of that part of the podcast, I said no one ever asked me about Kenny fucking Omega, and like some people might have been like, oh, how dare you? But it's true. Stan Hansen. Almost everyone in this country knows who Stan Hansen is. He's a legend. I never get asked about Kenny Omega, so there you go. Anyways, I don't want to make this about Kenny Omega. If there's ever a best of Kenny Omega, it won't be on this show because he never wrestled for the 90s, in All Japan in the 90s, so it's not likely to happen. He did wrestle in All Japan Pro Wrestling in the Muda era in the 2000s, so, if I ever do a show about that, I'm probably going to talk about that because he actually had a lot of good matches. He was the junior heavyweight champion in All Japan Pro Wrestling for a time. Well, but, today, before we get started, for those of you who aren't familiar with Scrump, give us a bit of a background on your pro wrestling fandom. And like you said, a lot of your Japanese wrestling knowledge comes from me, which I apologize for. I'm sure you don't want to know the intricacies of how shitty Taichi looks with his terrible gear.
Oh no, I love it.
But how did you get started as a pro wrestling fan?
Well, with wrestling in general, I was never big on wrestling as a kid. I knew what it was. Obviously, I mean, it's hard. I grew up right in the Attitude Era, basically, so it's hard not to know who your Stone Colds and The Rock and, all those names are. But it wasn't until the go-home show before WrestleMania 20, the SmackDown, where there was a scuffle. It was a promo between Eddie and Kurt Angle. And I thought, who is this fucking cool-ass Mexican guy that's just, that's on my TV right now? And that was, what led me to wrestling. Eddie Guerrero, I'm all about it. About Eddie, his career, and kind of that was just my way into discovering wrestling as a whole. Because again, I knew it was a thing, but I just never really cared. And then from there, it just I was all in. And I mean, as far as like Japanese wrestling, Shinsuke Nakamura, I say would be the person who kind of got me into it, because I don't know if you know this, but WWE, when it comes to their Japanese wrestlers, not the best with presenting them. They were often like the butt of the joke, or look at any Jerry Lawler match where he's commentating, a match between Asian people, and I'm sure he'll say some incredibly racist shit that shows you, up until a certain point, how they treated their Asian talent. I mean, it was most of their talent. They had the Mexicools who were gardeners. But I saw Shinsuke Nakamura and Tanahashi at one of those War of the World shows that they would do, that Ring of Honor would do in conjunction with them. And I thought, who the fuck is this guy? Like, Shinsuke Nakamura just instantly won me over. And I believe he had a match with Kevin Steen, or it was some sort of tag. I don't know, something. But I saw him and Tanahashi, and I was all in. I discovered New Japan because, again, I knew of these other companies, but I didn't know how to go about watching them or finding them, and just started looking at things with Shinsuke Nakamura. And then my first New Japan show that I saw was ironically his last one that I saw in full. It was Wrestle Kingdom with him and AJ, and I just, every Wrestle Kingdom since then I've watched. I try to watch them live. I sometimes just wait till the next morning, but I mean, my wrestling fandom starts with Eddie Guerrero, and now I'm more, every other company except for WWE. I understand the appeal to it and why some people are still all about it, but I prefer much, Japanese wrestling, stuff from Mexico, independent wrestling. I am attracted to more of the workers. I don't mind a fun character here and there, but for the most part, it's the work rate that that drags me in. I don't mind seeing John Cena cut, this fiery babyface promo, but I'd much rather see Kazuchika Okada, wrestling for an hour and just blowing my mind.
So it's safe to say that you're not that familiar with the All Japan Pro Wrestling from the 1990s.
No, I mean, a lot of the names are, I've heard the names, I've heard just throughout, people mention, oh, you should check out this, you should check out that. And so I was familiar with the names, even the names of the people in this match, just again, from kind of delving into Japanese wrestling as a whole. I was familiar with the names, but not with a lot of their work. And it's not for any particular reason other than, again, when I start watching wrestling, the big Japanese company is New Japan. So that's kind of what I start. And it's not till later that, I start watching some Noah, or I start watching some DDT. And yeah, but I mean, I heard the names, I've heard Misawa, I've heard Jun Akiyama, so I was familiar with the names, not so much the wrestlers themselves, though.
Yeah, so like I said before, one of the purposes is to kind of convert people to this style of wrestling and get kind of a fresh kind of outlook on the matches that they watch with me here on the long and winding Royal Road. And so I picked this match, and I picked this match because I thought, well, I'm gonna pick a match that I think maybe you would like, Scrump, and kind of find a hidden gem for us to talk about here on episode 1. So the match I picked is from the Real World Tag League, Day 10 of 1997. The date is November 27th of that year, from the Nakajima Sports Center in Sapporo in Hokkaido, Japan. It's Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki versus Mitsuharu Misawa and Jun Akiyama. And before I start, I should make a note that Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki are not All Japan Pro Wrestling wrestlers. They are from FMW and Michinoku Pro, respectively. So for those of you who don't know about FMW, are you familiar with FMW, Scrump?
I've heard about it. Jericho wrestled for them, no?
Yeah, briefly, and then he would wrestle. Briefly,
yeah. So I know I've heard Jericho talk about FMW. Again, FMW is a company I've heard of. I've never really dealt too much myself into it, along with Michinoku Pro as well. Like I've heard these names. I just don't know much of the history about them, but I'm sure you're about to tell me.
Do you know what FMW stands for?
Full Metal. What? No, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what the acronyms could mean.
Well, it stands for Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, which is got to be one of the best like promotion names in the history of wrestling.
That's a pretty metal sounding name. I like it.
I think they're on the frontier because of martial arts because they were a deathmatch company. Like FMW is very famous for being kind of a pioneer of what we know as deathmatch wrestling here in Japan and in North America as well. Like everyone from ECW, CZW to Game Changer Wrestling today would trace the roots back to FMW. Same with in Japan, like Freedoms and of course Big Japan Pro Wrestling. They trace the influence of their companies back to Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. And Hayabusa was a big star in that company. Him, Masato Tanaka, the Gladiator, Mike Awesome were three of the biggest stars in that company. They would all wrestle for All Japan, in some capacity throughout their careers. But yeah, this company started by Atsushi Onita, who was actually a junior heavyweight in All Japan. He wasn't going to go anywhere in All Japan necessarily as a heavyweight, so he decided to, strike out on his own, and he formed FMW to great success. He's one of the biggest draws in professional wrestling when he was part of FMW. But Hayabusa was just this kind of like pioneering high flyer. He's one of the best mass wrestlers of the 1990s and early 2000s. Jinsei Shinzaki was from Michinoku Pro Wrestling. A lot of people might remember him as Hakushi, the modern day Kamikaze. Do you remember Hakushi in the WWF?
So no, the first Japanese WWE wrestler I was exposed to was Kenzo Suzuki. For those of you, like I mentioned to Brandon from New Jersey earlier, my knowledge of 2005 to 2008 SmackDown, I got you. But no, so after watching this match, Jinsei Shinzaki, spoiler alert, becomes one of my favorite guys to watch. I watched this Friday or Saturday, so I could take notes and stuff. And since then, I've just been looking things up of him. A lot of like top moves or just random matches of his. And like, one day I was like, oh, let me Wikipedia him and see what's up. And that's what I found out, that he was in WWE. And I guess had like a weird exit from the WWE. It was like post one of the Royal Rumbles, but it was very weird that like the way JR explained his leaving of the company.
I don't even remember how he left the company, but if you look at his time in WWF, he's got a kind of a similar gimmick, but a little different. Like he wears like kanji on his body, like as kind of like war paint, as it were. But like his gimmick is basically, if you're watching this match and you're like, what's his gimmick? Well, he's a Shinto priest is basically his gimmick, right? So like how that relates to being like a pro wrestler, I don't know, but like how does a zombie mortician relate to being a pro wrestler? There you go. But
yeah.
But if you go to I don't know if like how many of his matches are up on the WWE network, but if you have it and you want to look up for more of Jinsei Shinzaki stuff, check out his matches with Bret Hart and Sean Waltman, the 1-2-3 Kid. They're the kind of the highlights of his time in that company. But yeah, like so, I wanna give a bit of a background on Hayabusa and here especially as they take on the team. I don't know if we talked about the All Japan team they're going to face. They're going to take on, so Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki are going to take on the team of Mitsuharu Misawa, the ace of All Japan Pro Wrestling, and his tag team partner and protege at this time, Jun Akiyama. So let's talk about briefly. I don't know how briefly it's going to be. I have a lot of notes about this, but about Hayabusa. And I'm going to say that all my notes about Hayabusa are from this excellent FMW fan site. The address is fmwwrestling.us, and that's with 2 W's. And that's run by this guy, Brett, who's the super FMW fan. He's like the fountain of knowledge, if you will, Scrump, about FMW. And his Twitter handle is @Bahu, BAHU FMW. So give him a follow if you want to know more about FMW. But, Hayabusa wrestled for FMW, but he would meet with, All Japan Pro Wrestling promoter Giant Baba on March 2nd, 1997. This was an appointment set up by FMW President Shoichi Arai and also by FMW legend Atsushi Onita, who had a relationship with Giant Baba because he used to wrestle for All Japan Pro Wrestling, as I said before. So he goes into this meeting with Giant Baba, at a cafe, and Giant Baba says, okay, you can come wrestle for All Japan Pro Wrestling. So, what would be the equivalent of this? It'd be like if, someone from, it's like if, like, Nick Gage, went to meet with Tony Khan, and he said, okay, you can wrestle for AEW.
I mean, I would love for Nick Cage to be seen on TV, whether it's for Tony Khan or Sinclair broadcasts, or it'd be so good to see him just on regular television. Nick Cage he's a good man, that Nick Cage is. But okay, I see the comparison that you're making.
So it's you have to understand at this time, like, most of the wrestling companies have this very isolationist policy, especially New Japan and All Japan, but All Japan even more so than New Japan has this, like, we don't let outsiders come into our company and wrestle our big stars or have any kind of gain any momentum here, so to speak. So this is a really big deal. So Hayabusa would make his All Japan debut on April 2nd, 1997 at the Osaka Prefectural Gym, and he's the first non-All Japan wrestler, like I said, to wrestle for All Japan in many, many years. He teams up with the Masked Tornado to take on the team of Kentaro Shiga and Manuika Mossman. He gets his first win in All Japan by pitting Shiga with the Firebird Splash. Then we move on to April 19th at Budokan Hall. Hayabusa teams up with Suzuki Gun member Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Yeah, believe it or not, Scrump, Yoshinobu Kanemaru has been wrestling since, like, the late 90s.
Yeah, you couldn't see the look on my face right now when you confirmed that it was him. Yeah, good for him.
yeah, he's been wrestling a long time. Yoshinari, and they take on the team of Yoshinari Gawa and Kentaro Shiga, and this is Hayabusa's Budokan Hall debut, and I think he wins this match. I can't remember. Anyway, it's not important. June 6th, 1997 at Budokan Hall, Hayabusa returns, and he teams up with Jun Akiyama to take on the team of Takao Omori and Kentaro Shiga. Kentaro Shiga's like this guy who's always in these matches with Hayabusa, probably to take the pin because he's, like, really low on the totem pole in All Japan at this time. Scrum.
Okay.
So this is kind of the start of this kind of rivalry, this budding rivalry between Akiyama and Hayabusa, because, like, they're teaming together, and Akiyama gets the win for his team here, and then most of the times tag team partners shake hands, but Akiyama didn't want to shake hands with him. They do shake hands, but it's like this look on Akiyama's face is like, you're an outsider, you're an FMW deathmatch, mud show outlaw, whatever the fuck, like people call it, wrestler. Oh, I don't want to hang out with you. And then, there's like this air of distrust and maybe even disdain in the air between Akiyama and Hayabusa here.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy storyline to tell, I guess. It's the pure wrestler doesn't want to get in there and mix it up with, the dirty backyarder. Makes sense.
Exactly, right? It's like CM Punk coming into the WWF, whatever. It's like, this dirty indie garbage promotion wrestler. But, like, that's kind of like Hayabusa's, like, not image to the fans, but to Akiyama, because everyone else is kind of, accepting of him for the most part in All Japan Pro Wrestling. We move on to September 28th. Now, this is the match that we're going to... it's actually September 28th, 1997. Hayabusa would team with Mitsuharu Misawa for the first and only time of their careers in All Japan, and they would take on Jun Akiyama and Satoru Asako. And yeah, after the match, all four wrestlers would show respect for one another, but Akiyama again would hesitate to shake Hayabusa's hand, and when finally doing it, would not even look in his eyes and just immediately walked away from the guy. And that, what a big diss that would be. Imagine if you met someone and you did something together, and everyone's showing respect to one another, and one person, Scrump, just looked at you, they begrudgingly shook your hand and just like looked you up and down with disdain. How would you feel?
It's not a nice feeling, especially when you tag team wrestled with the guy and you're just you're not doing anything wrong. Man just doesn't approve of where you've come from, and if we can learn anything from what's going on in the world right now, is you shouldn't be judging people based on where they come from. You should be judging them based on their character.
Exactly. And so we jump to November 15th, 1997 at Korakuen Hall. Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki would enter in the 1997 All Japan Real World Tag Team Tournament. This is like one of the oldest tournaments in the history of wrestling, Scrump, the Real World Tag League.
I love tag team wrestling. Like I'm always excited watching. One, I love tournaments. I'm a whore for tournaments. If whether it's single elimination or the G1, I love me a good tournament. So that's why I was kind of excited when I saw that. I was like, oh, okay, so this is part of the World Tag League, and I believe it was one of those New Japan ones that I tried to get into, but like New Japan doesn't have the best tag team division right now. But I'm excited for guys like the Revival who are kind of trying to bring that back, because you conversely look at foreign companies and how they treat their tag teams, and then you look at that other company that has their tag team champions playing bowling or dancing or whatever it is with the Viking Raiders, and it's just like, okay, well, I know where not to go for tag team wrestling. So I was pretty excited, as a matter of fact, that you picked a tag team match, because like I mentioned, I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling.
Well, here you go. But before we get to the match we're going to talk about, Scrump, I just kind of mentioned that on November 27th of 1997 in Sendai, Hayabusa and Shinzaki would take on the team of the Holy Demon Army of Toshiaki Kawada and Akira Taue. And what do you think about? First of all, what do you think about that name of a tag team, the Holy Demon Army?
That's a pretty badass name. Like, when putting together tag teams, sometimes it's hit or miss. I would prefer, if you're coming together for a tag team, you have a name. Like, it's kind of annoying when it's just, oh, it's this wrestler and that wrestler, and that's just what they refer to them as. Like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on and off forever have teamed up, and they've never had like an official name as far as I know. But to have like a legit name, to me, it's like if you're a real tag team and you have a legit name and you have matching gear, because those are the Scrump requirements for a good tag team. But that's as badass of a tag team name as it gets. Yeah,
I mean, like Kawada and Taue never had matching gear. If you ever see any of their matches, you'd be like, yeah, they don't look like they're part of any tag team, but they work together. I think I don't necessarily need the matching gear. I just need them to like, just have chemistry together in the ring. That's all I need. But this brings us to our match that we're going to talk about today, Scrump. We're going to talk about November 27th, 1997, the Sapporo Nakajima Sports Center, Day 10 of the Real World Tag League. Jinsei Shinzaki, Hayabusa taking on Mitsuharu Misawa and Jun Akiyama. So we start the video, and we see, first off, Hayabusa and Shinzaki come out to Hayabusa's theme song. This theme song is called Fight with Dream. What a badass title for an entrance theme.
I thought he just had a badass, like his gear and everything. I was a big fan of the entrances from everyone here. Like Jinsei, his whole getup, and Hayabusa, same thing. I was big on all of it.
So what do you think about Hayabusa's gear? Like his, when I first saw him, I was like, oh, he kind of looks like Sabu.
Yes, I very much, I thought like if Sabu was some sort of like a superhero, instead of like a weird, like homophobic kind of racist online, like that's what he would look like. Because you have like these like Power Ranger-esque, like the thing he wore up on his torso, it almost looked like what the Green Power Ranger wears. But just the way he's presented, again, the pants, I was like, okay. I'm like, I don't see it too often, but I dig it. It kind of meshed with him. It fit him.
Yeah, it definitely fits with his, his style of wrestling. And then, of course, coming out second is a team of Misawa and Akiyama, and they come out to Misawa's classic theme, Spartan X. And this is like one of the, signature themes in the history of Japanese professional wrestling, Scrump.
Well, I mean, I could tell because right away, again, this is the first whole Misawa match that I've seen. I've seen clips of him, lots of GIFs of him. Obviously, they're all over the place. But seeing the crowd, or hearing the crowd just go crazy for him, I was just like, okay. Like I instantly knew this is the guy. Like, not that there was ever any doubt that Misawa was going to be as over as he was, but seeing him come out and just, hearing everyone go as crazy for him, I was just like, okay. I'm like, okay, I'm down with this.
All right, so we'll start the match. So Akiyama and Hayabusa start off the match. They're facing off against one another. This is playing into the kind of like the rivalry I've been talking about that started from June 6th. The first several minutes of this is just them feeling each other out and trading moves and holds, with Hayabusa getting the better of Akiyama by sending him to the outside with a drop kick. Hayabusa would taunt Akiyama by doing a backflip from the second rope, which is about as effective as a middle finger, in my opinion, Scrump.
Yeah, I could definitely tell. It's like you said, it was them kind of just what would be like? It's just like them going kind of back and forth, trying to one up each other. And yeah, when he did that backflip, I was just like, okay, all right. Now with the context of the storyline that was going on with him, it makes sense that he would kind of try to be a shit king to him with that little backflip.
Yeah. So from here, Shinzaki tags in, locks up with Akiyama, and immediately goes for an uppercut thrust to the chin, which annoys Akiyama. This is kind of like, his signature move. It's like that, the cane upper thrust, uppercut.
Mm-hmm.
The Shinzaki does kind of a similar style of strike in his own wrestling repertoire. From here, Akiyama gets the upper hand with some strikes. He sends Shinzaki into the ropes, but Shinzaki ducks a flying knee and a clothesline from Akiyama, and he hits Akiyama with a flying shoulder tackle. And so far, in this point in the match, the FMW Michinoku Pro Team is looking very good in there with these All Japan mainstays.
Yeah, the one thing that kind of stuck out to me was I loved Jinsei giving a nod to Cena with that shoulder block. But no, you kind of tell, like, all right, they're letting them get their shit in first, because it is a little bit of a slow start, which is fine. Like, I had no qualms, nothing bothered me about that. But yeah, you could definitely tell them kind of just getting their shit in. And again, with the context of they're the outsiders coming in, like it makes sense that they would let them shine a little bit, because again, within the context, I'm not getting into the ending, but it makes sense once we.
By the way, I hope you're being facetious when you said that Jinsei was giving a nod to John Cena in 1997.
Yeah, I don't know. He was a Cena fan back then, right?
Exactly. Yeah. When Cena's how old is Cena in 1997? He's like 16, something.
Maybe. He's a little 16-year-old Cena.
Yeah, I'm sure Jinsei Shinozaki was searching out for videotapes of him backyarding with his friends in fucking Massachusetts. Anyways, Misawa finally tags in at this point in the match. He locks up with Shinzaki, and they have a pretty uneventful exchange until Shinzaki tags in Hayabusa, who hits Misawa with a springboard elbow to the back of Misawa's neck. From here, Hayabusa spends most of his time with Misawa working over Misawa's arm. Shinzaki tags back in, and things pick up from here. There's a strikes exchange that Misawa wins with a drop kick that sends Shinzaki to the floor. And I love this spot in the match here. Misawa tries to psych him out with his over-the-top rope flip, but Shinzaki catches Misawa's arm as he rolls back into the ring. He backflips back into the ring, and then Shinzaki grabs his arm. He then jumps up to the top rope and does his prayer walk along the top rope, clearing about half of the perimeter of the ring. So fuck you, Undertaker. I never saw you clear half the fucking ring, let alone more than 2 feet of the top rope on one side of the ring. And then then he goes for a top rope chop to Misawa's head, but Misawa, thankfully for him, blocks that. And but Shinzaki recovers, sends a thrust kick to Misawa's chin, and the All Japan fans are really getting into this match at this point. They're really into the team of Shinzaki and Hayabusa, these two outsiders. But what did you think about the prayer walk along the top rope there?
My jaw was literally agape when that happened, because for someone his size, he moves. You don't expect him to move like that, and yeah, when he gets up on the rope and does, we've all seen Undertaker do the, what do they call it, the old school, or they might just say walking the rope, whatever it is. He just moved like it was nothing. He walked so calm and so smooth that I was like, wait, where are these wires holding him up? Because no, it was amazing. I literally wrote in my notes, holy shit, Jinsei's my new favorite wrestler, because that was just so impressive. to see it done. Like you mentioned, Undertaker does it maybe one rope, but yeah, he cleared a lot of fucking room with that, and super impressive. I was really impressed with that because again, if you saw a bigger guy like that moving now, it's a little bit more common, but I'm not sure exactly how often you saw that back then. Someone again of his size moving like that. Like I would expect that maybe from Hayabusa because he's a smaller guy, a little quicker, more agile. But no, it was. I was really impressed with that. It's if you guys are listening to this right now, you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and go out of the way to watch that specific spot. If you watch anything for this match, that specific spot, because holy shit, is it just incredible.
And he's also praying at the same time, Scrump. That's the impressive thing. He's praying while he's like holding Misawa's arm and just taking him like halfway around the ring while he's walking on the top rope.
If I'm walking on those ropes, I would probably be praying as well because Jesus, one wrong step and he would have just ate shit.
Yeah, exactly. And Misawa at any time could just like pull him off or like crotch him on the top rope, but it doesn't turn out that way for Misawa. Thankfully for Shinzaki. From here, Jinsei Shinzaki hits a Vader bomb and then slaps on another nerve hold onto Misawa here. Akiyama and Hayabusa eventually tag in against one another, and the match really starts kind of getting to the second gear from this point, with both men exchanging blows, including Hayabusa hitting a jumping knee to Akiyama while he's in the corner, and following up with a beautiful springboard face crusher on Akiyama.
Yeah, that was, again, like this was my first Hayabusa match, and it definitely won't be my last, because it was again really impressive. And with a lot of the moves in general that Hayabusa did, just the way he wrestled, I can see how a lot of like early 2000s wrestlers, even wrestlers now, how much they would have been influenced by him, because it is something that you're more accustomed to seeing now. But seeing someone who, I don't know if he's the originator per se, but seeing someone who was bringing that more to light, like, it was just awesome. I was really impressed with Hayabusa as well.
From here, Akiyama regains control with a pile driver and hits his patented jumping knee strike. Shinzaki tries for his Vader bomb again, but Akiyama gets his knees up. Misawa tags in, hits a senton, driving his entire weight into Shinzaki's already hurting midsection. I was just like, every time Misawa does this senton, this jumping senton onto his opponent who's lying on the ground, I just like wince, because it's like, this man's not light. He's like 245 pounds maybe at this point.
Yeah, he's by no means like a smaller guy, but if you say he's what, 240?
I'm gonna say 230 to 240 at this point.
230, 240. All right. He hides it well, I guess. I wouldn't, if you would have told me, I would have guessed maybe like smaller 200s. But yeah, that senton, I'm glad I don't ever have to take a senton. It doesn't look like something fun to have to take.
No, definitely not. From here, Misawa and Akiyama just work over Shinzaki's midsection until Hayabusa tags in and hits a flurry of moves, including a springboard elbow to Akiyama's face, a jumping spinning heel kick, and a modified Fisherman Buster that only gets a 2 count. And this like 2 count out of this kick out of this Fisherman Buster, Fisherman Brain Buster, really then like we're going to the next level in the pacing of this match, Scrump.
Yeah, that's where I kind of felt that things started to pick up because, again, kind of a slower start than you would expect. But once they start getting to the near falls, that's just when it starts. It's like go, 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 go. And yeah, this is when I like the first pitfalls where I was like, oh.
Exactly. So Akiyama hits a second rope jumping knee to Hayabusa. He tags in Misawa, who climbs to the top rope to hit a flying elbow to Hayabusa's face. And you can see that the All Japan team are like kind of like thinking, oh, we gotta match this high flying combo from outside of our company. And so they're doing all these top rope high flying maneuvers now.
Yeah, there's a top rope maneuver that's coming. That's coming. That one kind of impressed me a little bit more. I'm not sure how often Misawa goes to the top, but I'm sure I'm sure you're getting to it right now because, it's pretty impressive. You just, you didn't bring it up yet, right, Jinsei?
Oh, well, so from here, Misawa goes for his Tiger Driver, one of his finishers. But Shinzaki saves the day with this gorgeous top rope double axe handle to the back of Misawa's neck, and then Hayabusa follows up with a high kick to Misawa's head, and then a German suplex, which unfortunately for Hayabusa he cannot hold. Was that the move you're talking about, like this springboard like double axe handle?
I was just like, whoa! Again, just for me, I'm just kind of refocused on everything, and it just came out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, okay. Like again, there's everything. They're picking it up now. They're moving in there a lot faster, hitting a lot more high spots, and yeah, that really impressed me.
So one thing I think that I like about this match is kind of the grace that both Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki show in like the way they do high flying moves. Like there's kind of like, it's like they're flowing through the air, like as opposed to like, they're not missiles, but they're more like birds, like gracefully, going through the air to do damage, to do violence upon their opponents in this match, Scrump.
Definitely, yeah, they're very good. I mean, one of the things I wrote here is they're both smooth like butter, and yeah, you mentioned it. It's a lot more graceful as opposed to them just going up there and hitting things for the sake of hitting things. Like it almost seemed like everything they were doing it with a purpose, and it to me at least it definitely came off that way because you mentioned there is a grace to everything that it is that they're doing.
Yeah, so the pace picks up even more from here. Hayabusa hits a springboard senton flip, and Shinzaki follows up with a springboard knee drop to the face, and then Hayabusa hits an Asai moonsault, and Shinzaki falls with a diving headbutt from the top rope. There's a 1, a 2, but Misawa kicks out before 3, but he just got hit with like 4 or 5 different moves in succession here, Scrum. It was amazing.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, and like the cherry on top of it is that headbutt, which I mean, in hindsight, knowing what we know about the headbutt not being like the safest of moves to be doing, it definitely made it more impactful for me because, like, I know how much of a toll that's taking on the actual wrestler's body. So that definitely, again, just kind of heightens it for me because these guys are all professionals, and there's a lot of moves that they're doing that I'm sure we look at and go and kind of wince because we think that hurts. But again, they're professionals, so a lot of these moves probably don't hurt. A flying headbutt. Don't think there is any cheat way around that to not make that like shoot hurt you.
I think he's able to like protect himself, a lot better than a lot of people who do the flying headbutt from the top rope. But from here, Misawa escapes a powerbomb attempt from Shinzaki with a Frankensteiner, and he hits Shinzaki with an elbow and is able to tag in Akiyama. And from this point, they do their own double teaming with a series of elbow smashes that Akiyama follows up with Northern Light suplex. Hayabusa saves Shinzaki from a German suplex with a springboard forearm to Akiyama's back. And Shinzaki then hits a great-looking Pele kick. Like, he just, basically he backflips into this beautiful kick into Akiyama's head.
Yeah, I was really I love who is it that does it? AJ often does a good Pele kick, but this one was pretty damn good.
Well, like Shinzaki, like you're saying, he's a thick boy. This man, like he's not super tall, relatively speaking, but man, he's a thick dude. Like I'd say he's like way heavier than AJ, but he does a much better looking Pele kick than AJ does.
Yeah, he's almost like a taller, like Ishii. Like they have that kind of like that same stocky build where you wouldn't necessarily call them like bigger dudes, but they're thick. A lot of wrestlers back in that era were just thick.
And I don't think you're going to see Tomohiro Ishii do a fucking Pele kick ever.
Listen, if Tomohiro Ishii pulls off a Pele kick, I mean, listen, right now, with the way everything's going on in the world, I would not be surprised to see him come back in the New Japan Cup and pull one off because why not? Maybe that's what he's been practicing with all this time off.
A Pele kick?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's just been drinking and eating.
I mean, I possibly could have been doing that as well.
That's probably what he's been doing. Anyways, so we're pretty much into the crescendo of the match from this point. One of my highlights at this point in the match is the moonsault Hayabusa hits on Misawa, who's standing on the floor at ringside. So imagine this. So Hayabusa jumps on the top rope on one side of the ring. He kind of backflips diagonally. He clears the turnbuckle. and hits Misawa with this amazing accuracy. And Misawa's on the floor at this point. And I just like, how do you do that? Like, it's people might think I'm talking about like the golden triangle for Kotobushi, but it's not that move. This is completely different. I'm going to say it might be even a little bit more difficult to pull off.
Yeah, with that part, I actually like rewound the video to watch because, yeah, you mentioned I guess the way we're explaining it, you would kind of instantly think golden triangle, but no, it's way more impressive.
Like he goes diagonal, like across the ring. It's like it's pretty impressive. He's not clearing like a large distance, but it's the direction that he's moving that impresses me more than anything else.
It's also the air he gets too, because he gets up pretty good.
Oh, definitely. And like he like I said, like we were talking about before with Hayabusa, he's such an amazing like aerial wrestler. Like definitely an influence on many a person who came after him. From here, Shinzaki then hits Misawa with a Sasuke special, and I'm just thinking, poor Misawa. So like he does the, like you see this move done by the great Sasuke. You also see this move done more recently by Will Ospreay, where he does a handspring jump out of the ring onto the floor, which is pretty impressive. Again, this man is thick. He's not a light person.
No, that I think for me was like what solidified where I was just like, what made me want to go and just seek out more of Jinsei, because yeah, man, like you keep hearing us talk about how he's a thicker boy. Never would I thought that this guy was going to pull off, the Sasuke special of all things.
Yeah, it's just, I gotta say though, Scrump, you don't have to watch like a lot of Jinsei Shinzaki matches, because he doesn't really have, like great matches consistently throughout his career. You just go to Cage Match, look up the match guide, and just find some of like the higher rated matches of his and just watch those.
It's what I did.
Okay, that's good to know. Oh man, I'm gonna watch Jinsei Shinzaki matches, and then you're just like, well, he doesn't do anything in this match. Oh my god, okay, let's watch another one. He's not doing anything in this match either. He's not the most consistent worker in the world, but when he's on, he's fucking on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, listen, hitting that right, like this guy made me a fan in this match, so he's doing something right.
So from here, Hayabusa hits his beautiful Firebird splash, and Akiyama barely kicks out at 2.75, and this crowd is on fucking fire.
I don't know if you noticed, there was one guy in the front row. He was wearing like a gray scarf, who for most of the match he was annoying me because he was looking down at something. He kind of just wasn't paying attention. It wouldn't have been a cell phone, because it was 97. So he would have had like that Zach Morris, I believe he would have had that bigger Zach Morris phone, maybe a smaller one. But I was like whenever there was these high spots, I was looking at him, and at this point, because I thought it was over then, when he kicked out at 2.75, like you mentioned, that guy was just okay on his feet. He was awake now, just fully paying attention to everything that was going on. Yeah,
from here, Shinzaki does his praying powerbomb. So he prays a lot before he does a lot of his matches, or during. He prays a lot during his moves or before he does a move, and this is his praying power bomb. He does this on Akiyama. Hayabusa then hits his Phoenix Splash, and only the timely intervention and really the miraculous intervention of Misawa is able to save Jun Akiyama from being pinned for the 3 count.
Yeah, again, towards the end of this, there's so many false counts that I was just like, I pretty much was just like, all right, I'm not even going to take any notes now. I'm like, I was so just into it that I'm like, let me see it from, whatever till it ends here, and then I'll go back and rewatch and take notes, because yeah, I mean, at this point the crowd's super into it. They're hitting everything they got, and it definitely, contrasting into the earlier parts of the match, it almost felt like 2 different matches, but they both gelled together.
From here, Misawa hits the Tiger Driver on Hayabusa and then takes out Shinzaki on the floor with his elbow suicida dive. So basically, it's a elbow suicida is the tope suicida, but Misawa doesn't hit someone with his body or his head. He hits him with his elbow, which is of course one of his signature strikes. Yeah, so
Samoa Joe's he does it a lot, I believe, or used to. I'm not sure how often he does it now in WWE, but that's a move I when I saw him do it, I was just like, oh, okay, that's where Joe got it from.
Yeah, from Mitsuharu Misawa. Shinzaki saves Hayabusa from getting pinned after Akiyama hits the blue Thunder Driver, which is a move, people might not be familiar. That's a move like Sami Zayn, El Generico does in his matches. So he stole that from Jun Akiyama, who invented the move.
Always a favorite move of mine whenever I see people hit it. So I was happy to see Jun hit it.
Akiyama hits a diving elbow smash to the back of Hayabusa's head, but it's not enough to put him away. There's an exploder suplex from Akiyama, only a 2 count. Hayabusa hits a Frankensteiner pinning combo. 1, 2, kick out. Oh my god. This match is just going crazy. Akiyama finally hits an exploder suplex on Hayabusa for the 3 count at 21 minutes and 34 seconds. And, and from here, everyone shakes hands afterwards, showing respect to one another. And I love seeing this in professional wrestling matches, Scrump. Like, people I like the post-match angle where they beat the shit out of each other. Those are okay. I don't hate those, but I love seeing respect in a wrestling match because it just comes off so much more real to me. It comes across as like a sport, which is like my favorite kind of presentation of wrestling is as a sport.
Yeah, same with me. Like and maybe it's just because I'm older now, but a lot of like the, and not to harp on WWE so much, but is a lot of what they do now. They don't treat you like a smart fan. They expect you to forget everything after the month, and no one can lose clean, and it's kind of get in, get out, and on to the next thing. But I like a good post-match angle, especially that sign of respect. It doesn't happen often with a lot of WWE, but when it does, it's like, oh, okay, it's usually like The Undertaker or one of those guys. There was a feud a while back with Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream, where that was kind of the whole angle was kind of that, like, hey man, Velveteen, like, respect me, say my name, and then finally, Aleister loses and he's still just like, okay, there was that good show of respect after the match. So yeah, that is also something that I like in it as well, because to me, professional wrestling should be presented more like a sport. Not that there's anything wrong with other types of wrestling, but much like you, when it is presented more like a legit sport, I'm usually happier and tend to talk more about those matches.
Right. So let me just talk a bit about the aftermath following this match. So December 3rd, 1997 in Niigata, Hayabusa and Shinzaki wrestled their last All Japan Real World Tag Team Tournament match by facing the team of Kenta Kobashi and Johnny Ace. Yes, the Bella Twins' stepfather was teaming with Kenta Kobashi in 1997 in a match that goes over 20 minutes. And, they lost this match, but, they had a good acquitting of themselves against, one of the biggest stars in the company, Kenta Kobashi. And, Kenta Kobashi and Johnny Ace were part of a trios unit with Del Wilkes, the Patriot, of all people. And, what was their name of their group? It's called GET. And I forget what the G stood for. I think geographical, global, energetic, and tough.
Definitely not one of the cooler names that I've heard. But I mean, it was still the 90s, so it makes sense.
Listen, like, Kobashi would follow that group up with a much better sounding group. It's him, Akiyama, and some of their younger wrestlers on the roster, and they're called Burning, and that's way fucking better than GET.
Yeah, see, Burning, that sounds fucking metal, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go buy a Burning t-shirt. I don't know how quickly I'm gonna run to the merch stands to get a GET anything.
So from here, Hayabusa and Shinzaki, go back to their respective promotions, but they come back to All Japan February 13th, 1999, and they achieve a great milestone here. They win the All Japan, All Asia Tag Team titles. They actually came back before the February 13th date, but this is like the date of them winning like these tag team titles, which are some of the oldest titles, not just tag team titles, but some of the oldest titles in the history of Japanese wrestling. And they would be the first non-All Japan team to win an All Japan title. So that was a very, big, kind of like pat on the back from All Japan Pro Wrestling to, Hayabusa and Shinzaki as a kind of a thank you for like all the hard work they put into the, their previous appearances as a team, and just like, I think a lot of confidence in both these guys. And I got to say, if like, the Noah split afterwards didn't happen in 1999, in 2000, maybe, you know, they would have tried to get both these guys to join their roster in the future. I got to think that was kind of something Mitsuharu Misawa had on his mind. And finally, on June 4th, 1999, at the Sapporo Nakajima Sports Center, back to the match that we're talking about, the venue we were talking about the match in, Hayabusa and Shinzaki lose the All-Asia Tag Team titles to the team of No Fear, Takao Omori and Yoshihiro Takayama. What do you think about the team name, No Fear?
Again, sounds awesome. A lot better than GET. Like, it's almost weird. I get it. It's hard to come up with like a tag team name, but definitely a lot. I think I'm not sure there's many group names that can get a little worse than GET.
This podcast is just becoming like a shit on GET podcast in the second half here. But from here, let's go back to Misawa and Akiyama. They actually go on to the finals, and they face the Holy Demon Army, and they lose that match. But it's an awesome match. Anytime, you know, you get Misawa and any of his tag team partners taking on the team of Kawada and Taue, you're in for pretty much a fucking epic. But we'll definitely talk about that match sometime in the future on this podcast. I'm sure someone was going to pick that. But yeah, so overall, what did you think about this match, Scrump?
I really liked it. The story they told with, and again, I went into this not knowing any of the context behind the characters or what's going on, and you giving me that info, I'm like, okay, it makes more sense. It makes more sense why from the start it is more of an exhibition, more kind of just, you know, one-upsmanship between Jun and Hayabusa, and you kind of just throw in the flashiness of Jinsei, which, again, for someone who looks like that, you don't expect them to hit kind of the moves he does. But I was really impressed with it, and my favorite part is just once the near falls start coming and everyone just they take it up a notch. It was really awesome. It's fun seeing, I think, a little bit from everyone, that you can see a lot of the North American style, even the, you know, Japanese style now. A lot of what wrestlers do now, it's influenced by wrestlers like this, because, again, in 97, I don't know how common it is to see these moves being hit, but it's more what you see now. And not that it's a bad thing. I prefer this style, actually. But again, it was really fun. And it's interesting that right now, at that time in 97, these are the kind of matches going on in Japan, and conversely, you know, across the globe. This would have been what, post Survivor Series, right? The screw job.
This is November. Yeah.
So this would have been post screw job. So, like, at least to me, I think WWE just lost their best wrestler in Bret Hart, and not too long after they lose Shawn. And so it's interesting to kind of just see conversely, like, what one company is putting on compared to the other, because in just a few years, you know, WWE's known for kind of being really behind on things, and by the time they latch onto something, it's already kind of evolved. And I feel with, you know, 3-4 years, the wrestlers they start bringing in, they're working more this style as opposed to kind of the more robotic style that we were used to. But it's good to see that, like, you know, all these guys putting, especially that walk rope, like, I'm glad that, you know, he made it safe. And I don't think, I believe he wrestled Joe. He's still wrestling Jinsei, right? I think I might have saw him wrestle Joey Janela once, if I'm not believing, at one of Joey Janela's spring breaks. I don't know if it's something he's still attempting, you know, and granted, he's for sure a little older. I just hope he's still not trying that move, because even then it looked dangerous, you know, when it was, you know, all those years ago now. But no, I was really impressed with the match. Didn't see much from Misawa. I don't feel like this was a match where Misawa did too much. What he did was impressive. You know, I love his forearms. But yeah, I mean, all in all, I would give it 4 stars. I thought it was a really solid match from beginning to end, and enjoyed the story that they told. And then, you know, again, with the added context of the little mini feud between Hayabusa and Jun, it kind of added to my enjoyment of it, especially now knowing, like, oh, okay, well, it makes more sense.
You know, getting back to, like, you know, Shinzaki's top rope walk along the ropes. You know, he was never allowed to do that in the WWF for obvious reasons, because it looks so much better than the Undertaker's. Like, you definitely know Undertaker was like, he ain't doing my fucking move.
I mean, it's probably the same reason Punk was never allowed to do the Pepsi plunge. You know, who wants to see a pedigree when you see one off the top rope?
Exactly. It definitely looks more effective than Triple H's pedigree. But yeah, definitely if you're listening to this and you're going back, I'm gonna look up some Hakushi matches, and you're like, where's this fucking top rope walk that, you know, Scrump was going on about? I don't fucking see it. It's like, well, you can thank Vince and the fucking Undertaker for never being able to see this great looking, you know, move that Jinsei Shinzaki does, because, like, of course, the Undertaker's not gonna let someone who does it better than him do it in his fucking company. But anyways,
isn't that why Cena didn't allow people to use the Burning Hammer? Because a Burning Hammer looks infinitely times better than the AA or FU or whatever you want to call the fireman carry that he does.
No, but I don't know if he banned that move himself. I can see WWE not letting anyone do the Burning Hammer because it's a really dangerous fucking move in legit circumstances. You got to be really careful you don't break someone's neck hitting that move. I
believe, and then we'll get right back on topic, but I believe it was Tyler Rex. There was some he teamed with with Brian Myers for a cup of coffee, but I specifically remember him like telling a story that he was told like, hey, Cena doesn't like you using that move because it looks better than his AA. I might be misremembering. Don't feel the need to tweet me reminding me that I'm wrong. If I am wrong, I will look it up. I promise you guys I will look it up after we're done recording this.
Yeah, I mean, who cares what they banned or don't ban or Cena doesn't like. Anyways, back to this match. I'm going to agree with you. My rating for this match was also 4 stars. I thought it's really fun. It built slowly, and just hit the different strides at different paces at least 2 or 3 different times in this match, which I like. Those kinds of matches that build upon one another, like kind of like a cake, as it were. I like, matches that start right off the gate and just are like sprints as well. But like this kind of a match, I think, rewards you as you go deeper into it. It's like, okay, they're building upon things they did before. This is not like, a super psychology match. Like, they're not doing any limb work necessarily that plays into the finish or anything like that. But it just kind of builds like the offense between the two teams. It just builds and builds and builds until we hit the closing stretch and we get that exploder suplex and, Hayabusa's pinned for the 3. But I just thought this was a great showcase for these two outsiders, for Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinozaki. I don't know how often we're going to talk about these two guys in the series, because obviously they're not All Japan regulars. I can see someone picking the match they have with Kawada and Taue down the line on the series, but again, I don't know when that's going to happen or if ever that's going to happen. So I thought for you, Scrump, I'd pick a match that features two guys who are kind of outsiders. They kind of represent you, like as an All Japan fan. Like, you're kind of the outsider. You're coming in to my world of the All Japan 90s fandom, and you're hanging in there with me, giving a good acquitting of yourself, giving a good showing of yourself, and I thank you for coming on there, and I'm really happy that you wanted to come on. And my last question before we move on to plugs is, like, what did you think of the presentation of this type of wrestling? Because it's really different. It's the 90s, so it's very different to what we're seeing here in 2020. You could definitely tell it was a little dated, but I mean, that's more so just, at least the one thing that's noticeable, just obviously you watch wrestling now and it's a lot higher in quality, but no, I thought I didn't mind the presentation at all. I thought it looked great. There wasn't 100 camera cuts to different things, which I love. Like, just put the camera there and cut when need be. But no, I thought the presentation was good. I love seeing wrestlers come through the crowd. Like, it's something that with a lot of American wrestling you don't see that often. But with like older wrestling, I very much appreciate that, because it just gives it a different feel.
You know?
Yeah, like the fans rushing to the aisles to try and get to touch the wrestlers coming down to the ring. But what's great is like all the younger wrestlers, the young boys, they're escorting the wrestlers coming up to the ring, and they're usually like just keep making sure the fans don't touch the wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see points in like Japanese wrestling where young boys just like shove someone back.
Were there any young boys that became bigger stars? Like that's always when I watch like older wrestling, I always try to look for a young boy and be like, all right, is that who? Oh, I don't know.
In this match?
Yeah.
Oh, Kenta's in this match.
Is he?
Naomichi Marufuji's in this match.
Okay.
I think I see Takeshi Morishima coming out in this match. Like, yeah, a lot of these guys would be like who become stars, like Yoshinobu Kanemaru. They're all being seconds. You might not see them, but they're out there, like Takashi Sugiura, Naomichi Marufuji, Kenta. Yeah, definitely these guys are all out there. But like, it's hard to pick them out when they're young boys, right? Like, I'll watch the match like recently that featured, like a young Hiromu Takahashi, doing young boy duty, and it's like, wait, who's that chubby little fat kid there? Oh, that's Hiromu Takahashi. You don't recognize him when he's just got straight short black hair, right?
Yeah,
it's completely different to what he looks like now. But yeah, I'm the same way as you. Like, I'll go back and I'll watch. Sometimes I'll just watch matches just to see, okay, who's the young boy out there? Who becomes someone? Oh, there's Yuji Nagata when he's a young boy. Oh, there's Hiroshi Tanahashi when he was a young boy. Like it's really fun. That's one thing that's really fun to do with Japanese wrestling. If you go back in time, you get to see the young boys and like you say, like who becomes a star from this crop of people.
Yeah, I mean it's always fun. I mean, just with wrestling in general, like I mentioned when I first got into wrestling, like all I knew was like that 2005 even just SmackDown, because I didn't have cable, so I couldn't watch like Monday Night Raw. So even now, kind of going back and like, all right, what happened to this person? Oh, okay, they're somewhere wrestling in Puerto Rico, or oh, this person does movie and TV work now, kind of just in the background. Like it's always fun. Just what happened? What happened to your favorite wrestlers? But I very much enjoy it more so in Japan because there is that like that young boy system instilled, which is different than like a developmental system here in in the States, because it's, someone that goes into developmental that goes down to an NXT isn't necessarily going to be shown until they're TV ready. But I very much appreciate the young boys being on screen, and then you go back later and you're like, oh shit, look, there's Baby Fale and Baby Tamatanga getting the shit kicked out of them by whoever's in the ring at the moment. Always just fun, a fun little thing to just look and see who's there.
Okay, and from this point, are you more interested in checking out All Japan Pro Wrestling of the 1990s?
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, today, I don't know when this will go up exactly, but today in the aforementioned the group chat that we have, there was a link for, and I believe it was an All Japan documentary, and I was just waiting till I got home to watch that. All Japan, and I've always been interested in the history, especially when Noah props up, and kind of just it's interesting hearing the history behind all that, and especially now that I've like, oh, okay, now I have a direction of where to go and what to start watching. I definitely want to learn as much as I can, because that's the fun of pro wrestling, is discovering new wrestling. You get introduced to one wrestler or a group of wrestlers through friends or family, or just one day there are no cartoons on and you're just happen to find Eddie Guerrero on your TV. But it's always fun discovering new wrestling too. The one thing I tend to do with one of my buddies, because he's all about wrestling his life, where I'm like, hey, have you ever heard of this wrestler? And then he just fills me in on, oh, you got to watch this match, you got to watch that match, which I think is one of the perks in having a lot of friends that have been into wrestling for a long time, which also makes it weird that they were all super into this one thing, bonding over it. And I was just over here like, yeah, guys, but check out my Yu-Gi-Oh cards, So definitely post this. No pun intended, but post this. I am a lot more interested in All Japan, and just seeing how just seeing everything with New Japan. New Japan, All Japan. I definitely want to delve into it.
Well, you definitely can follow this show and all the matches that we talk about here on the Long and Winding Road. Before we get to your plugs, though, Scrump, you should give a shout out to your friend that you said was really excited about you appearing on this show.
Oh yeah, shout out to Trevor Outlaw. Trevor Outlaw. He, I mentioned him. He will always have a special place in my heart. For he was the first person to ever come up to me and say, "Hey, you're Scrump, right? Oh, I heard your podcast." And that instantly, I was like, "All right, well." This person is my new favorite person, and he actually works over with me at Pro Wrestling Tees now. And when he heard that I was going to be on this show, he was pretty excited because he listened to episode 0, and I was like, "Oh yeah, what'd you think?" And then kind of just heard his opinion, which obviously he liked it. We all love WH, and yeah, again, when I told him I was going to be on here, he popped for it. So Trevor, I hope right now when you're listening to this that you pop for it.
Yeah, Trevor, thanks for your support. I appreciate you taking time out to listen to the show and enjoying it. Scrump, where can people find more of you?
Well, I host a podcast myself. You mentioned it earlier, the PWTcast, the official podcast of Pro Wrestling Tees. New episodes drop every Monday wherever podcasts are found. And myself and the head designer over at Pro Wrestling Tees, Stank, every week we get together to talk, wrestling, comic books. It's different than, it's not the typical sit down and what made you want to start wrestling and what are your top 5 influences. Not like that. We like to talk with wrestlers just about what they're interested in. We've had a lot of really fun episodes. We've had one with Killer Cross where he talks about like how horror movies have influenced his character and him. We've had Hornswoggle on. He talks about Muppets and tattoos. We've had Ethan Page on, and we talk, Marvel movies, Power Rangers. We try to have fun, and we even had Kevin Smith on. That Kevin Smith, director Kevin Smith. We've had him on, and recently we did an episode again with all the things going on in the world. I'm not sure exactly when this will drop. But with everything going on right now, we kind of wanted to take a step back and educate people on something that was very close to us in Black Wall Street. Earlier last summer, kind of why we started this group was you, myself, Brandon from New Jersey, and our man Neil. We were all watching Watchmen, and the very first episode of Watchmen, you're introduced to this horrible event that happens in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And at first it was just like, oh man, that's a pretty fucked up fictitious thing to wait, what? It's not a fictitious thing. So we kind of wanted to inform people about that because again, it's not something that's taught in American history. And we kind of just felt maybe we should educate people. So if you enjoy my ramblings, you can follow us there. We're at PWTcast on Instagram and Twitter. And again, we drop new episodes every Monday. WH, we're definitely going to have you on sooner rather than later. We met the one time in Toronto, and I wanted to podcast with you then, but unfortunately we were all running around, and I believe I was actually leaving like in a few hours, so we just didn't have time to podcast. But we're definitely going to get together and podcast because WH is, for all you guys listening, you guys know how cool the man is, and to get him on and just nerd out with him about wrestling and comics, it's just, it's every podcaster's dream.
Maybe you just have me on the PWTcast and you'll send me pictures of wrestlers and have me comment on their gear. Maybe that can be a whole episode.
Listen, we can do that, or we can bring on Braden as well, and the three of us can just chat.
I don't think that would be that interesting. I think that'd be interesting for the three of us, if we're sitting on a patio and enjoying each other's company and enjoying some refreshments, non-alcoholic for you, of course. Yeah. But on a podcast, I don't know. I don't think that would be that interesting. I'm not saying anything disparaging about you or Braden. I just don't think myself and the three of us as a combo, on a podcast would be. Well, it's really focused, right? Unless we're talking about something specific.
We know where the real 3-man team would be you, myself, and Brandon from New Jersey.
Or we gotta include Neil Flanagan on that as a 4-person booth.
Our man Neil. Yeah, listen, I'm always down to hear the beautiful dulcet tones of one Neil Flanagan.
That's right, the Irish lilt of Neil Flanagan. But Scrump, thank you very much for appearing on the Long and Winding Road. Check him out at the PWTcast. Check him out over on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle? At Scrump?
It's at Scrump_1. If you go to at PWTcast, you'll find it there. All my stuff is there. But yeah, again, thank you so much for having me and being the inaugural guest. I hope that after this isn't the only episode you put out and everyone's like, get this fucking guy out of here. We don't ever want to hear him again. But no, thank you so much for starting my fandom for All Japan Wrestling.
Well, in the future, hopefully we can get you back on. Maybe at this time you'll pick a match. You'll be saying, WH, I need to talk about this Wolf Hawkfield versus Johnny Smith match from 1998, and I'll be like, okay, sure, let's have you on to talk about that match. But we'll see. I hope you delve deep into this era. And to all the listeners, especially of our debut episode, the episode 0, a lot of the feedback has been nothing but positive, and I just want to thank everyone for their support and for their patronage of just listening. I don't have a Patreon, so not that way, but just for all the positive feedback, I really appreciate it. And on behalf of Scrump, I want to say to all the listeners, thank you, and talk to you next time, and goodbye.